In Sao Paulo in 2010 reminded Pell and his partner of their former feelings, and they have been together ever since. Around the same time, Pell released a song dedicated to the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, titled Hope. The footballer has a serious passion for music, and for his fans, he even released a couple of records. Most of the songs are about football and, of course, love. On the eve of 2018, Pell visited Moscow. In February 2020, reports stated that he could no longer move without assistance. For this reason, Pell prefers to avoid public appearances. Nevertheless, he does not intend to give up. His schedule still includes photo sessions and active charity. Had a strained relationship with Pell has been involved in over 55 film projects. He worked as a screenwriter and producer on 2 films, played himself in 15 others. Throughout his life, the legendary footballer has endorsed a wide variety of products near Sao Paulo, from Pan-American campaigns for Louis Vuitton alongside Zidane and Maradona. The only taboos for him have been alcohol and tobacco advertising. Pell's current net worth $1 million per year. For with his wife, Pell is also a passionate collector of luxury cars. His first car was a 3-wheeled vehicle, gifted by the Brazilian government after his victory in the replaced by a Mercedes-Benz 114 to recruit the star player, in honor of Pell's 1,000th career goal. The gift matched the same color scheme. Pell also drove a more affordable Vauxhall Zafira. In 2014, he became an life. Pell, like a magician, captivated the entire world. His name is synonymous with football, but the influence of the legendary Brazilian extends far beyond sport. Pell has become a beacon for millions worldwide, a stimulus to grow, and an example of dedication to one's craft. Do you agree that Pell was the greatest player of the 20th century? If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe to the channel to not miss more interesting content. The young footballer came on as a substitute when the score was 0-1 and managed to equalize. In the end, however, Brazil lost 12. Still, for the young player, the debut was an unquestionable success. Still recovering from an injury, so his World Cup debut came only in the last group stage match against the Soviet Union. On June 15, 1958, Pell became the youngest player ever to appear in a World Cup match, a record that stood for 24 years. The next game was the quarterfinal against Wales, where Pell scored the decisive goal, writing his name into the record books as the youngest player ever to score in a World Cup. In the semifinal against France, Pell shone once again. He delivered a brilliant hat-trick, scoring 3 goals in one match, and instantly became a world-famous star. The final match against the host nation, Sweden, was broadcast worldwide for the first time in history. Years later, Pell admitted that, as he listened to the national anthem before kickoff, he thought of his father and remembered the promise he had once made to win the World Cup for him. In that match, the young Pell once again shone. Brazil won 52, and at just 17 years old, Pell entered history as the youngest World Cup champion, a record that still stands today. In 1959, Pell set another football milestone by scoring 126 goals in 100 matches for Santos. The club's owners capitalized on his fame by organizing games in different countries, and everywhere he went, matches featuring Pell filled stadiums to capacity. The fame that fell upon the 18-year-old footballer did not spoil him in the slightest. He always respected his opponents and the fans, remained simple, friendly, and kind in everyday life, and carried himself with nobility on the football pitch, where year after year he continued to perform miracles. He would send the ball into the net from completely unexpected positions, even when surrounded by several defenders. It seemed as if he could do anything he wanted on the field. Every one of his matches turned into a thrilling spectacle. Many tried to uncover Pell's secret. His physical abilities were often described as nearly perfect. Despite being just over 170 centimeters tall, he could leap 2 meters into the air and run 100 meters in 11 seconds. But beyond his athleticism, the great player also possessed a brilliant footballing intelligence. Like a computer, Pell instantly tracked the slightest movements of the ball and the players, which allowed him to always be in the right place, either to continue an attack or to score a goal. Throughout his career, he remained a consummate professional, strictly following discipline, maintaining his regimen, and practicing moves and shots even outside regular training sessions. The French press first crowned him the King of Football in 1961 during Santos' Tour of France, and the President of Brazil issued a special decree declaring Pell a national treasure to prevent him from leaving for a European club. In 1962, the Brazilian national team successfully defended its title at the World Cup in Chile, making Pell a 2-time world champion. However, he suffered an injury in the very first match and did not return to the field for the rest of the tournament. In 1965, his first autobiography, I Am Pell, was published. The book inspired thousands of Brazilian boys to learn to read just so they could understand it. In recognition of his contribution to public education, the legend of sport was awarded a medal by the Ministry of Education. At the next World Cup in 1966, Pell was once again injured, and Brazil was eliminated during the group stage. That same year, the footballer married Rosemary das Reis Cholby. The couple lived together for 16 years and had 3 children, 2 daughters, Clea and Jennifer, and a son, Edinho, who followed in his father's footsteps and became a goalkeeper for Santos. However, Edinho was later imprisoned for large-scale drug trafficking and money laundering. In February 1969, while on an international tour, Santos played a friendly match in Nigeria, a country then in the midst of a civil war. Yet, for the sake of the match featuring Pell, a special two-day ceasefire was declared. By November of that same year, at the Moroccan stadium, Pell scored his 1,000th career goal. The event turned into a nationwide celebration. The Brazilian ministry even issued a special postage stamp with a circulation of 1 million copies, and years later, dollars. To this day, Santos annually celebrates November 19th as Pell Day. Brazil's national team went on to win the World Cup for the 3rd time, and Pell became the only player in history to be crowned world champion 3 times. In the following year, 1971, not yet 31 years old, Pell decided to retire from the Brazilian national team. The entire country was shaken, and millions still held on to the hope that he might change his mind. But on July 18th, Pell truly made his final appearance for the Brazilian national team in a friendly match against Yugoslavia. He explained to his nation that he wished to retire at the height of his glory, rather than linger on as a football monument that had outlived itself. For Brazil, Pell played 92 matches, scoring 77 goals. He remains the all-time top scorer in the history of the national team. In 1972, the footballer signed a contract with a coffee-producing company, giving rise to the famous brand Caf Pell. The athlete took part in large-scale promotional campaigns for the drink. Thanks to its affordable price, the brand quickly entered the global market, and export revenues brought Pell significant earnings. Back home in Santos, Pell continued to play until 1974. Over 19 years with the club, he appeared in 1,116 matches, scoring 1,091 goals. With Santos, he won the São Paulo State Championship 11 times, the Brazilian Cup 6 times, as well as the Copa Libertadores and the Intercontinental Cup twice each. Remarkably, on 5 occasions, Pell even stepped into goal when the goalkeeper could not continue, as substitutions were not allowed at the time, and he did not concede a single goal. In 1975, Pell joined the New York Cosmos. At that time, soccer, European football, was just beginning to develop in the United States, and star players were being invited to attract audience interest. Before moving to the U.S., Pell had acquired substantial property in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and other Brazilian cities. He owned shops, residential buildings, land, a dairy company, a freight and transport business, an import-export office, and even a radio station. Not all of his business ventures were successful, and overall, Pell owed the bank more than $1 million. The Cosmos, however, offered him a huge salary, $1.4 million per year. By signing with the American club, Pell became the highest-paid athlete in the world at the time. For 3 consecutive years, the Cosmos, with Pell, became champions of the North American Soccer League. The name of the king of football truly contributed to popularizing soccer in the U.S. According to statistics, during Pell's time in America, attendance at matches increased tenfold, and so many players wanted to swap jerseys with him that the club decided to give each opposing player a shirt with his number. In 1977, Pell decided to retire from football permanently. For his farewell match, he invited Santos to New York. On October 1, despite pouring rain, 76,646 spectators filled the stands of the New York Stadium. Pell played one half for the Cosmos and the second half for Santos. In the first half, the Brazilians managed to score, but Pell sealed his career with a spectacular free-kick goal, his 1,281st in 1,363 matches. During his career, the footballer visited 88 countries, and over 90 songs have been written about him worldwide. In 1976, Pepsi-Cola established the Pell Award, worth $10,000, given annually to the best player of the year in the US or Canada. Immediately after retiring, Pell decided to make up for the knowledge he had missed. He first completed high school, then graduated from the university economics faculty. Singer Xuxa, helping her advance in her career, though the relationship was short-lived. In 1981, the war drama Victory was released, featuring Pell alongside Sylvester Stallone and Michael Caine. HERES the English translation of your sentence. The film tells the story of a World War II prisoner of war camp, where a strong football team is formed. Pell was not only an actor, but also the choreographer of the football stunts. He demonstrated, in particular, his signature move, the bicycle kick. During filming, Stallone suffered numerous injuries, including a rib fracture. While trying to take the ball from Pell, he broke another rib and a finger. After filming, he remarked that playing football is harder than boxing in Rocky. In honor of Pell's 50th birthday in 1990, a match was held in Milan between the Brazilian national team and a World She. That was the first time Pell ever wore the captain's armband. In 1992, Pell was appointed an ambassador for ecology and the environment, and in 1994, a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador, promoting a healthy lifestyle. In the same year, Pell married again, this time to psychologist and singer Sri Lemos Sixas. They had twins, Joshua and Celeste. However, the marriage faltered after 14 years, as it became known that Pell often cheated on his wife. He also has 2 illegitimate daughters from different women, Sandra Orantes do Nascimento and Fulvia Cristina Cruz da Carvalho. In 1995, Pell was appointed Minister of Sports of Brazil, a position he held for 3 years. During his tenure, he successfully promoted a law that expanded players' rights in their relationships with clubs. The nation's love for the football legend was so immense that, in 1995, a man from Rwanda traveled to Brazil in the hold of an American cargo ship. He walked on foot to Pell to ask him to help reconcile two warring peoples in his country. In 1999, the magazine France Football awarded Pell the title of Player of the Century. In addition, the International Olympic Committee recognized him as the greatest athlete of the century, even though he never participated in the Olympic Games. In 2000, FIFA named Pele the best footballer of the 20th century. The following year was less pleasant. Pele was involved in a corruption scandal in which $700,000 was stolen from UNICEF. From 2006 to 2008, Pele was part of the Santos coaching staff, but with limited success. In 2010, he revived his former club, the New York Cosmos, which had been disbanded after his departure. By 2013, Brazil was preparing to host the 2014 World Cup.